When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-616-8010. That's 1-800-616-8010. Again, 1-800-616-8010. Call now.
Did you ever look at the stains in your coffee cup and then realize that's exactly what happens to your teeth? Power Swabs is the 5-minute solution to get your teeth white without visiting the dentist. This is Ben Gordon with Power Swabs, and if your teeth are stained from coffee, tea, or smoking, all it takes is 5 minutes with Power Swabs. In 5 minutes, you'll see an average of 2 shades whiter teeth, and in 7 days, 6 shades. It's clinically proven to whiten natural teeth as well as caps and veneers. The secret is a tooth detergent that was developed by Dr. Martin Ginniger that lifts stains off of your teeth. Best of all, there's no messy strips or trays that you have to leave in your mouth for an hour. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes and you're done. To try Power Swabs risk-free, call 1-800-291-5140. That's 1-800-291-5140. I guarantee your bright white smile will have your friends talking about how great you look. Try it risk-free today. 1-800-291-5140. That's 1-800-291-5140.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
The following letters were written by our troops.
My dear fellow Americans, I truly appreciate your support. I was starting to wonder if people had forgotten about us over here, but then one of my buddies showed me this website, and now as tears are streaming down my face, I can see for sure that you haven't. Private Emily B., U.S. Army.
It's so heartwarming to see the American people not letting the men and women of the armed forces be forgotten. Your letters make a group of grown men, battle-hardened and gruff, act like a bunch of kids around a Christmas tree. Thanks. Staff Sergeant Matthew H., U.S. Army.
Your support may be the most important thing our troops can carry with them. But don't take our word for it. Take theirs. To show your support, visit americasupportsyou.mil. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Defense and the Ad Council.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-616-8010. That's 1-800-616-8010. Again, 1-800-616-8010. Call now.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. We leave no warrior behind. Wounded Warrior Project is a non-profit organization created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war. Whether those scars are physical or mental, we're here to make sure that they heal. And whether it's helping those with post-traumatic stress disorder live a normal life again, or giving much-needed support to injured warriors in veterans' hospitals. Because no one deserves our help more than the men and women who risk their lives to keep us safe. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
Somewhere from within the great state of New Hampshire, where the motto is still live free or die. Welcome to the program. This is where you get your nightly, evening, daily dose of total and absolute truth and freedom. Especially if you are, welcome all you fellow ecclesiastites as we continue your education into logical and historical factual truth. And as well as all those others who are into freedom and liberty all across the globe. If you're into freedom and liberty, personal freedom and liberty, this is the program that you need to be listening to. The number that you can call, by the way, is area code 603-835-3224. Again, that's toll free, 603-835-3224. Welcome. It is, if you're listening to this live, it is Thursday, I do believe. Thursday. Although I had a scare earlier today. I got to tell, there was a moment in time when my memory, or mind, I should say, jumped ahead, and I thought it was Friday. Now, some people are saying, well, yeah, what's wrong with it being Friday? Well, if today was Friday, it would mean that I missed Thursday. I missed a whole day. And when you have a life that is as full as mine is, you don't want to miss a single day. And so I was almost in a panic mode. Oh, my goodness. Oh, it's not Friday. It's only Thursday. Whew, I didn't miss a day. And that's a good thing. Because, like I said, I'm having a ball. I'm very busy. I'm doing what I like and love to do. I'm just having a ball with life. I am Rush Limbaugh always says having more fun than a human being should be allowed to have. And I didn't used to know what he meant by that. But over the last couple of years, I got to tell you, I have come to find out exactly what he means by that. Because, it's really a choice. You can either go ahead and just fully and completely and thoroughly enjoy life in the moment while you're still paying attention to and planning for the future, of course, because today was yesterday's future. So we're all hopefully going to be in the future. It's I know at some point our futures end, future days end, but until that point, you're going to have a future. So you need to be able to plan wisely for the future, yes, but don't do it at the expense of completely and fully and thoroughly enjoying today, because you're not promised tomorrow. Not at all. I'm sure there are a lot of people that are not here today on this day that yesterday thought that they would be here today, and they're not. So it is, and you've also got to protect your future, protect tomorrow. And sometimes what you have to do is sacrifice today in order to protect tomorrow. And sometimes it has to be where you have to sacrifice all of your tomorrows so that everyone that you love has a chance at an opportunity for tomorrows. And, that for some people, that's a really easy and quick, no thought, no brainer decision. For most of us, when the situation arises, for most of us, that would be a no brainer. We would instantly know what to do. I mean, take, for example, parents. If you're a parent of a child and your child's life is threatened or endangered, most parents would not even hesitate to put themselves in between the child and that danger, even if it meant that parent's life. It's not even a second thought. And see, that's the way our first responders and our military are. And not just about their own family, but about their entire community and their entire country. And they do not hesitate for an instant to step in between we the people and danger, even if it means their life is going to be forfeit. They will still step into the line of fire between we the people and danger. Now, what we have to do and understand is that for those people who are volunteering to do that on a daily basis, we have to give them the tools and the training that they need to properly do that and be able to still go home at night. Now, I know that there is there are these billboards that are popping up now that basically say Blue Lives Matter. And that you have some on the left, especially the Black Lives Matter group, are really all up in arms. They're just ticked about it. Now, don't get me wrong. I do not believe that police officers should be in full body armor. I don't. Because you're dealing with the public. I mean, one of the things is protect and serve. Yeah, but serve. And you can't serve the public if you separate yourselves from the public. This is the problem I have with cops constantly driving around in these big fancy cruisers. You know, most the summertime you can run around. It doesn't matter where you are, especially in the city. You can just hang out at a corner and watch the police cruisers drive by, and 90% of the time, their windows are rolled up because they have the air conditioning on. They got the sunglasses on. And in some states, the cruisers have, full tint. So there is this tremendous separation between those who are doing the protecting and those who they are supposedly protecting. That doesn't do the public any good when you separate yourself. And see, this is how... Now I'm going to say this, so I want people to fully understand that I am not anti-police. But the cops have to bear some responsibility for this. Our police departments all over the country have to bear some responsibility for this because they have taken themselves, in most communities across this country, they have taken themselves out of the public eye and public reach on a daily basis. When was the last time you just stopped and talked to a police officer on the street and just had a friendly conversation about the weather. I mean, the kind of stuff that we used to see in the 50s and 60s and early 70s TV shows and in the movies. And indeed, what many of us who were alive back then did experience, especially in small and mid-sized towns. Even today in small towns, like Keene, New Hampshire, you can't get a cop to talk to you. Just talk to you out of the blue, say, about anything, weather. Hey, officer, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Let's just, shoot the crap for a little while. You can't do that. Why? Because half of them think that you're too damn cool to talk to you, for one. That is a problem. And two, because the whole notion behind their leadership and how they police, they've gotten away from this whole notion of protecting and serving to policing. And when they're in policing mode, they're sitting in their cruisers, driving around town, and nobody can interact with them until it's something that has to do with legal and somebody's probably going to go to jail. Now, that's not the way a police department should be responding and reacting to the community that they're supposed to be protecting and serving. Now, I'm not saying that you have to, sit down and have an hour-long, if you're an officer, have an hour-long conversation with people on the town square, but you have to be open and be approachable. So that when you walk into a Waffle House or a Dunkin' Donuts or some other place, you're not going to get this notion that, we don't serve police or we don't serve people with guns here, sir. You're going to have to leave. Now, I really want people to think about that for a second. Now, the first thing that everybody wanted to do who's a law-abiding, constitutional-believing citizen is they're going to jump up and down and then start bashing on, the Waffle House employees and management and other businesses and things like that. And I have to admit, I did too. And then I stopped and thought, wait a minute, why is this continually happening? I mean, it's not an isolated incident anymore. What is it true about the Black Lives Matter thing and this cop block crap? Yeah, that is, the cop block thing is crap, by the way. Let me point that out. Is that all? Are they right about that kind of stuff? Or is there something else that's possibly at play? And you start really paying attention and analyzing and looking at the evidence of what is happening. And you start to see a pattern. And the pattern is that police are not blameless in this. I'm sure I have cops that are probably listening to the program. They're going to vehemently disagree with me. But look, I'm going to tell you something. And if you're a good cop, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and you know I'm right. When was the last time you just interacted with the public? Now, you might want to just, friendly interaction with the public. Now, I know it does happen. And every once in a while, you'll see it posted on Facebook. The cop is out there dancing or playing football with the local kids. Now, see, that used to be an everyday occurrence, not something that was so rare that somebody thought they needed to take a picture of it and post it on the internet. That used to be constant. That used to be a daily thing. That's what I'm talking about. We don't do that. Police departments don't do that on a daily basis constantly. Because let me tell you something. You get those cops out there that have these, and by the way, some of those cops, the rest of the story is on some of those, is some of those cops were either chastised or put on leave, suspended for doing what, being involved in the community like that. So that's why I say it is the leadership of these police departments that are mostly at fault. There might be we might have most of the cops out there might actually like to be more involved with the community on a happy note on a daily basis. Because let's face it, it's a hard job. You're dealing with on a daily basis the worst that our society has to offer. That's got to be a downer. But how about instead of constantly just sitting around driving around waiting for that domestic violence call or that robbery or that shooting or that murder or this or the assault or this or the robbery or this or that or this, how about, somebody is sitting there on a warm summer day out in the city, sitting on a park bench and you're having a conversation, a normal, regular, non-fearful conversation with one of your local police officers. Now, how cool is that? Now, I have friends who are police officers, and I got to tell you, they are human. They like friendly interaction. It's why most cops have friends. Because they're like the rest of us. They like to have human interaction. They like to have friendly interaction. And you should... I know one cop in particular. I did a ride-along with him. And his whole... when he put on the uniform and sat in that cruiser, his whole demeanor was different. Now, I understand that the cop has to have a certain type of attitude when he's on duty. Yeah, that's perfectly clear. I got it. Not a problem. But his whole demeanor was different. I mean, he wasn't the same person. And he wasn't the same person because he didn't feel that he had the ability to be friendly. Because nobody was going to be friendly back with him. Every time he stepped out of that cruiser in order to talk to people, it was always for a legal purpose. And people's walls, they see the cop with the gun and the badge coming, and their walls go right up. There is no more friendly interaction. That takes a toll on our police officers. It really does. So what I am saying is that police chiefs and commissioners across this country, they have to revisit how they are leading their police departments. They have to train the police officers and encourage them to get back out into the community. And that is going to be a very long, very slow process because it's going to take a long time for the general public to once again trust the police. Now, Grant, I've seen the surveys, I've seen polls, I've seen all kinds. Let me tell you something. Many folks, more than half the population of this country, do not trust the government and they do not trust the police. That's a big problem. If you've got more than 50% of your community not trusting your police department, how much more difficult is it for your police officers to do their job? When it used to be just the opposite. It used to be like less than 10% didn't trust the police, and most of that 10%, they didn't trust the police because they were the criminals. And then every time something went down, all the community eyes, they would tell the police exactly what happened, where to go, where to find the perpetrator. You know, all that. There wasn't a need for all this kind of policing or investigating because they got all the information from the public because the public trusted the police department because the police and the public worked together because they constantly were in contact with each other. Today, we're not. We're separated. And it's not the street officers that have done the separating. Well, let me be very clear about that. It is not my friend who's a cop. It is not your next door neighbor who's a cop. They're not the ones who are doing the separating. The separation is coming from the top. And they're doing it for a reason. They're doing it on purpose. And it has gotten to the point where it is so bad that now we have this Black Lives Matter movement. And the rank and file police officers are being targeted for assassination. And we have to sit back and wonder, what the hell is wrong with people? Why our police are under attack and Obama's not saying everything? Let me tell you, it's done on purpose. And it's not just Obama. There has been a massive severing between community, the people of the community, and the police. And that did not happen with the people on the beat, on the street. It happened at the top. And it continues to happen because if you ever sit sit in a police briefing, or you listen to a police chief or assistant chief or commissioner talking to his his lieutenants and captains and telling his officers and detectives how to go about their daily policing routine. And if you go into police academies, you're going to see these cops being taught, being told that everyone out there is a suspect. And I dare a current cop to tell me that I'm wrong in this one. They are trained to believe and think that every single person on the street is a suspect. Now that is separating you from those who are supposed to be protecting and serving you. And eventually it breaks down. And this is what this is what happens when the whole system begins to break down. The people on the street who are on the front lines thinking that they're doing their job are the ones now being targeted. And the rest of the community, by and large, is looking the other way. No, we see some of these incidents on TV news. Like the cop filling up his car, being shot like 15 times in the head, and we all gasp and go, oh, but wait a minute. Why wasn't there any intervention? Why wasn't anybody attacking this criminal? Why was the criminal on the loose for so long before he was caught? Because I'm telling you, because of the separation, people look the other way. And a lot of people, even though they know it was wrong, they quietly, a little part of them, applauded the bad guy. Because they're mad at the police. For one reason or another, they're mad at the police. And I'm telling you, that kind of thing really has to change. Because if we don't change it, it is going to get worse. And then you're going to start finding out, like in some communities we're finding out, the police are pulling back. They're pulling out. Because they know that if they go into a particular neighborhood, they're going to be the target. And then we have some community leaders that say, well, see, look, the police don't care. They're pulling out. Well, they're pulling out because you are also, community leaders, are fostering this notion of separation of the community, individuals, from the police. Because what are people usually taught now? Oh, don't trust the police, man. You can't trust the police. Don't rat anybody out. You can't talk to the man. Because he's gonna blame you. You can't talk to the police, man, because they're gonna nail you for something. You can't trust them. Can't talk to them. Nothing. Again, that's coming from the top down. These people just don't all of a sudden think that on their own. They have to be told and taught this kind of thought process. And it's coming down that that's what they're doing. That's what's happening in our communities, folks. It's not good. We want the police out there to protect and serve. The police, most of them, want to protect and serve. But we have this barrier between us. And that barrier is getting taller and wider. And I know that there are movies out there that we've seen, like RoboCop and Judge Dredd, where all of a sudden the police are just these loners all by themselves, these untouchables out there, and everybody in the community is scared. If they even look like they're going to jaywalk and they see a cop, all of a sudden they're straightened up. And the general public is just absolutely terrified of the police. That's in these movies. Well, that's the direction we're headed right now. And that's not a good thing. That does not promote a safe and just and free society. What that does promote and lead to is a police state. Because now we start adding more and more laws to separate the police from the community. And when you have a police state, the only people who are really safe are the government officials and the police. And the rest of us, we no longer have freedom.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-616-8010. That's 1-800-616-8010. Again, 1-800-616-8010. Call now.
Did you ever look at the stains in your coffee cup and then realize that's exactly what happens to your teeth? Power Swabs is the 5-minute solution to get your teeth white without visiting the dentist. This is Ben Gordon with Power Swabs, and if your teeth are stained from coffee, tea, or smoking, all it takes is 5 minutes with Power Swabs. In 5 minutes, you'll see an average of 2 shades whiter teeth, and in 7 days, 6 shades. It's clinically proven to whiten natural teeth as well as caps and veneers. The secret is a tooth detergent that was developed by Dr. Martin Ginniger that lifts stains off of your teeth. Best of all, there's no messy strips or trays that you have to leave in your mouth for an hour. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes and you're done. To try Power Swabs risk-free, call 1-800-291-5140. That's 1-800-291-5140. I guarantee your bright white smile will have your friends talking about how great you look. Try it risk-free today. 1-800-291-5140. That's 1-800-291-5140.
Did you know that 1 in 4 people in America lives with a mental illness? Do you have the communication skills to help out if one is in a crisis? What if it's your best friend? Maybe your son or daughter? Well, crisis intervention isn't new. The book Crisis Intervention 101 is. It's easy to read, include links to 2 videos, and it's under $10. Get your copy of Crisis Intervention 101 today on Amazon.com, because we all need help in a crisis.
Start training for a new career in as little as 18 days. National EMS Institute's innovative boot camp program will train you for a new career. Learn to respond to emergency situations and become a certified EMT in just 18 days. National EMS Institute guarantees 100% job placement. Visit www.nationaleMSinstitute.com today to learn more about our 18-day boot camp. Or call us at 1-800-497-6732. NationalEMSinstitute.com.
Stuck in a boring, low-paid job? By 2017, there will be a shortage of 2 million cybersecurity jobs worldwide. If you have a technical background but don't have a computer certification, you are being drastically underpaid. In months, you could be qualified for a new job in information technology, making real money with real job security. A new career is just a few clicks away at thecodeoflearning.com.
Is the number to call should you wish to join me here live. And by the way, I do want to talk to folks if they want to talk to me, especially if you're a liberal. Because I know I get this all the time offline, in off show. Do you really take calls, Rod? Yes, I do. Do you really want to talk to anybody, Rod? Yes, I do. Do you really want to talk about anything, Rod? Well, on a Friday, it could be just about anything, but during the week, it's usually about, I'd rather talk about what I'm talking about to get feedback and other people's ideas and things like that. You don't want liberals to call, do you? Yeah, I want everybody to call. And if you're liberal and if you're, willing to put up with me, I'll usually let liberals stay on as long as they want. The problem is that usually, not all the time, but usually, a liberal will just devolve the conversation into name calling, and then they start using bad words and everything, and either I have to disconnect or they slam the phone on me. That's happened on the air before. I don't have a problem with it. If somebody wants to do that, go. Well, don't start using bad language and devolve the conversation into name calling, because that means that you've lost your argument and you have nothing else to say. But I do like to hear. I often hear. I've done interviews on liberal talk shows, for crying out loud. I have called liberal talk shows. So it's not like if you're talking about old Blog Talk Radio, I mean, I'm probably still banned from a couple of radio shows over there, if they're still broadcasting. But look, I have no problem with good, solid engagement and debate. The problem is what usually happens when let me put it this way. It is rare for me to talk to a liberal and debate facts and logic. Now, obviously, I don't think liberals are very logical. And most of them have no facts. But on rare occasion, there is that one liberal that I talk to that gives me a call. And they're trying to use some facts. Now, and they're trying to base their own, what they believe to be logic, on those facts. Now, unfortunately, what usually happens with them is that they don't have all the facts. They have some, or they leave out some details of the facts. And thus their logic is a little twisted. But at least that they're willing to stay in there and have that kind of conversation in that forum. And they don't devolve into calling me names, and they don't devolve into start shouting bad words, and they don't slam the phone on me. And usually, with them, however, the conversation usually ends friendly. And we usually have to end up parting ways by saying, well, we'll just have to agree to disagree. But sometimes I know that a liberal who takes that tact of being logical, trying to be logical, by the time they hang up, you can hear it in their voice, they're thinking. And that's all I care about, is I just care about getting people to actually think. Not emote, not work on their feelings, not try to have develop policy based on feelings, but to use logic and fact. In other words, think with their brains. That's all I want people to do. Because I know that the goal of this program is just not to get everybody in the country or the world to agree with me. I know some other hosts have said that they just want everybody to agree with them. That's not my goal. My goal is to just get everybody to think logically, because every single person is capable. Well, even those who are mentally deluded can be taught and helped to think logically. Because if you think about things on a historical, factual, logical basis, we will agree on the macro. I don't have to work on you on the macro. So I'm not working on you on the macro. I'm not working to convince anybody to think like me. I'm just trying to get people to actually think. And there seems to be less and less of thinking going on lately, especially if you look down there in Washington, D.C., and that's on both sides of the political aisle, by the way. I don't know. It's maybe there's something in the water in D.C. Because there's a lot of people that sound, when they're out in their districts and everything, and they're talking to people and trying to get elected and making these promises and saying, yeah, I'm a conservative and I'm a Tea Party member. And all of a sudden they get into D.C. and we wonder, where the hell did that person go? I think there's something in the water. We got all these conspiracy theorists running around talking about how, the spraying in the air. What is that? There's a specific. Now my brain can't even think of it at the moment. It's stuck in there. See, I got so much stuff locked up in my head that sometimes it's hard to go and find it. So it's like having, 50 million file cabinets, and you have to know where to go. But the ones that talk about airplanes, chemtrails. That's it. Maybe they're not because it seems like the American people are getting more and more conservative. They're moving more and more to the right. Well, if this whole notion what chemtrail theorists or conspiracy theorists believe is that we're all just, supposed to be, end up becoming mind-numbed robots that believe in the liberal mantra and socialism and communism and one world government, all that kind of stuff. Well, they must have stopped spraying the rest of the country, and they just have been concentrating on Washington, D.C., because we get a lot of these what we thought were Tea Party candidates and conservative candidates, they get down in D.C. and all of a sudden they pour out the tea and they start drinking the Kool-Aid. So they must be concentrating the chemtrails around D.C. That's all. That's the only thing that can, from a conspiracy theorist point of view, that's the only thing that can explain what's happening right now. Really. And I know some people are saying, is he serious? Is he being really... just think about this. Is he being really serious? Or is he just trying to be funny, facetious? I'm only being half facetious with that, really. But there's something going on. When these people get there, something happens to a lot of them. Now, I'm sure it's the long-standing, long-serving... good old boys and good old girls that see the new blood come in, and the first thing they do is walk over to them and put their arms around their shoulder and say, "Hey, glad you're here, boy. Let me tell you how things work down here. You want anything done back in your own home state, in your own district, you're going to have to learn how to toe the line. Am I making myself clear to you, boy?" You know that's happening. Well, we've had some congressmen get out of after only one or two terms and say, yeah, that's what happened to me. They tried to pull that crap on me and I couldn't get anything done, so I'm going to let somebody else go. We've heard people that have only served one or two times and retired that tell us this kind of stuff. That's why Washington is broken. It's these ultra long serving people down there that it's only a formality for re-election. And it doesn't mean that they can't be ousted, because obviously long-term and long-standing incumbents have been booted before. But it's very difficult, very hard, and not the norm. So they have this network down there, this good old boy and good old girl network. And in order for you to get anything done, especially if you're a noob, you've got to play along. And so they come to your office and they meet you out in the hallways and they invite you to parties, and then they just put their arms around you and they take that little spray bottle of chemtrail chemical and spray it in your face and say, "You going to play along or we going to have some problems?" That's the way it works in D.C., which is why I would never want to be there. I would never run for... At this point in my life, I cannot see myself ever running for a congressman, a senator, or the presidency of the United States, because that's what you have to do in order to get anything done down there. And if you got to sell your soul almost, and I'm not selling my soul to anybody. My soul has already been bought and paid for by Christ and God Almighty, and nobody else can outbid them. So I would never make it down there. I would be incompetent down there because I wouldn't be able to get anything done. So I don't foresee myself ever running for political office down there. and for that type of political office. Maybe someday it'll be a local office. I didn't even particularly like being in the PTO. So I don't really see myself running for anything in the state of New Hampshire either. Although, honestly, if I did, I honestly think that my position would be as governor. And I would, in New Hampshire, you only serve, your term is 2 years. So I wouldn't do like a lot of these people. I think a normal governor should, and they've talked about this before, the governor here in New Hampshire should be for 4 years. I kind of agree with that because if they're constantly, every other year they're campaigning, and that takes away from the office, I think. So I'd be for having a 4-year governor's term here in this state and 2 terms max. I know that's what I'd limit myself to. I don't think I could handle more than 6 or 8 years in public office anyway. I think that's it'd be hard to have 2 years, but I think my max is 8. And no, don't worry. I know some people are probably here in New Hampshire are probably hearing that, especially those who've asked me to run for a local rep a few times. I'm sure they're probably going to be getting a hold of the Republican committee here and say, hey, Rod's interested in governor. How can we groom him for that? No, don't bother. I'll let you know when I'm ready, if I'm ever ready. But it is a compliment. If your local or county Republican committee or party comes to you and says that they think that you would be an awesome fit for this particular person that you should run, seriously consider it. Be down in prayer about it and talk to your family about it. And if your family and God says it's the thing that you should probably do, then go for it. Don't be afraid to do it. Really, honestly, don't. Speaking of local and county stuff, not tomorrow, but next Friday, I will be in Erie, Pennsylvania, at the Erie County Republican Party. I have the address. I don't know what the address is. Not sure if it's a hotel or not, but convention center or what have you. But it's at 55 West Bay Drive in Erie, PA. 7:00. So you're going to want to come on out and listen to me give my keynote. Now they have me. This is really cute. Because I guess they're advertising down there, and they're billing me as a celebrity guest speaker. Now, I don't know exactly what that means, except to say that I appreciate that, but I don't consider myself a celebrity. I'm just your guest speaker for the evening. So the Erie County Republican Party is throwing a bash next Friday, October 23rd at 7 p.m. Here it is, at the Sheraton Erie Bayfront Hotel on West Bay Drive in Erie, Pennsylvania. So be there if you're in the neighborhood. And if you are, Jamestown, New York is only about, I looked it up, it's only about 45-minute drive away. It's a short drive. It's about an hour and a half from Cleveland, Ohio. So if you're in that vicinity, take the drive out. Come see me, talk to me. I love talking to people when I'm out there. I mean, my speeches are very short. The question and answer period is usually longer than my speech. And of course, afterwards, after the get together gathering sort of breaks up, I get to talk to people one-on-one in a private setting, and that's a lot of fun. So, yeah, feel free. You can come on out. People ask me questions all the time. And as I said, everywhere I have spoken, given a keynote speech, the question and answer period, because people have so many questions, has always been longer than the speech. So evidently, you're not going to be bored. Evidently, I'm not like Bill Clinton and Obama, and because I don't get to the point where I say "and in closing" and everybody claps for that part. No. I think the last time I said, well, in closing, I think people went, "Aw," So come on out, have some fun, listen to me talk like you're listening to me now. But the benefit is that you get to actually see me face to face, one on one, and talk to me directly. I love that type of interaction. Again, that's Friday, October 23rd, 7 p.m. at the Sheraton Erie Bayfront Hotel in Erie, Pennsylvania. Obama has done a reversal on Afghanistan. And, you know, when I first heard this, I did my Tim Allen impression, you know, like, huh? And the whole thing is the man has, because he's such an idiot, he's not dumb, but when it comes to foreign policy and his own true core beliefs, he's such an idiot but finally, it sounds like some of the other world leaders who are our allies have beat it into this man's head. Look, dude, you're abandoning the area, and this is what's happening, and it's getting so bad that the Soviet Union and Iran are now the big cheeses down there, and it's so bad that Britain has to tell their own pilots that now they have permission to shoot down Russian aircraft if they appear to be hostile towards them. It never should have happened if you stayed in the battle, Barack. And now Barack is probably getting, barraged so much. Because, Bibi is out there saying, Barack, you're an ass. Oh, I'm just going to put it out there. That's probably what Bibi's saying behind closed doors. And he's getting barraged, and it looks like that his legacy is going to be severely damaged if he does not do something significant. And so now he's coming out. Well, I'm going to leave some troops there until 2017. It's only going to be like 5,000, 5,500, which is better than nothing, but it's not enough. I hate to say this. I mean, look, I know that we've been there for 14 years in Afghanistan, but understand this. This is not a war in Afghanistan. This is not a war in Iraq. And see, this is where the lamestream media, including Fox, has gone astray with this. I have said time and time again, it is the war on terror. It is the battle of Afghanistan. It is the battle of Iraq. It is the battle of Syria in the war on terror. Because we didn't say it was, during World War II, we didn't say it was a war of the bulge. It was a battle of the bulge in World War II. It was a battle. You can win battles, but battles don't win the war. This is going to be a long drawn out war, and President George W. Bush warned us about this. He said this is not the type of warfare that mankind has ever been used to or has ever seen. This is something totally new, and we're going to have to learn as we go. So I wish that these news outlets, at least Fox, would get this right. It is not the war in Iraq. It is not the war in Afghanistan. It is not the war in Syria. These are battles. Yes, they're countrywide battles, but battles nonetheless in the war that we have declared. The problem is that they thought, and here's the problem, because they thought, Barack thought and tried to foist on the American people, hey, we won the war in Iraq, and so we can pull out. No, when you win a war, the enemy is no longer around to be able to rise up against you. So Iraq wasn't a war, it was a battle. And because we just won the battle and not the war, the enemy was not defeated. It's kind of like saying, okay, hey, we won the Battle of the Bulge, so let's just pull out now and go. Do you think Germany would have not went back in the bulge if we pulled out? Exactly. Of course they would have. Well, this is exactly what's happening in Afghanistan and Iraq. Because those aren't wars, they're battles, and we've pulled out of the battle, so the enemy who hasn't been destroyed and defeated is coming back in. And maybe this guy is starting to get a little tiny glimpse of that and say, oh boy. Because now he's going to go out down as the president who lost Afghanistan, who lost Iraq, who gave rise to ISIS, and who also helped Russia gain a foothold in the Middle East where they didn't really have a military foothold before. Now he's going to try to, well, he's got like a year left in office. He's going to act now? And people have to understand and put things. This is why I always say words matter and words mean things. And that you just can't start changing the meaning of the classic meaning of words, just so it can fit your own persona or your own notion or your own idea of what the world should be like. That doesn't work. And by saying this is a war in Iraq doesn't change the perception or the reality that it wasn't the war in Iraq, it was a battle. In that we didn't win the war on terror, we only won the battle in Iraq, and then we pulled out. A war comes to an end only one of two ways. Either both sides decide, well, this is stupid, neither one of us are getting anywhere, let's just call a peace and we'll call it a draw and call it a day. Or there's an unconditional surrender of one side to the other. Well, we haven't had either one of those scenarios happen in Iraq and Afghanistan. Why? Because we didn't defeat the enemy. Why? Because those were battles, not wars. People, you really got to understand the difference between a battle and a war. And I'm going to be very vigilant on how I address this from the future, because I have interchanged those terms too, and I should not do that. You know, I'm part of this whole media group now, I guess, and I need to be more cognizant of what words mean. And you are most likely not going to hear me say war in Iraq and war in Afghanistan and war in the Middle East and war in Syria, but battles. Because that's what they are. And we really need to start using those terms in their proper connotation. Because if we don't, we're going to get smoked. And we're going to end up back at square one. And this is what's happening in Iraq and Afghanistan. We're back at square one almost. I mean, all of those American and Allied lives that were lost or that were severely damaged and forever changed, that was all for naught. Because we mislabeled this type of action and thought we'd won something that we did not win, and so we pulled out. And this whole notion that the Americans are just so fatigued with war, oh, BS we are. We don't like war, but we also don't want to go away, unless we're victorious. And we've got to have a strong, long-term resolve. Because we just can't pull back and think, okay, we did what we did, and we're just tired of it, so we're just going to come. We can't play with people's lives like that. And that's what we're doing if they think that, Americans are just tired of war. There's war fatigue. No, you're playing with people's lives. And you'd be surprised to know that you're playing with your own life by thinking that way. Because guess what? War and terror, they're not leaving the war over there. They're trying to bring it here. So if you think that this is going to be like, I know we're not used to having war, battles and wars fought on our soil, but they have in the past. But we, as people, we're not used to that because we haven't seen it for over 100 years. But guess what? It's back now, folks. And your idea of getting fatigued about war, they're not fatigued at all. And they're coming here to bring the battle to us in our own streets. Going to tell me that you're too tired to deal with that? You better get off your duff and start paying attention and understanding what words mean like. And get unfatigued real fast.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-616-8010. That's 1-800-616-8010. Again, 1-800-616-8010. Call now.
Did you ever look at the stains in your coffee cup and then realize that's exactly what happens to your teeth? Power Swabs is the 5-minute solution to get your teeth white without visiting the dentist. This is Ben Gordon with Power Swabs, and if your teeth are stained from coffee, tea, or smoking, all it takes is 5 minutes with Power Swabs. In 5 minutes, you'll see an average of 2 shades whiter teeth, and in 7 days, 6 shades. It's clinically proven to whiten natural teeth as well as caps and veneers. The secret is a tooth detergent that was developed by Dr. Martin Ginniger that lifts stains off of your teeth. Best of all, there's no messy strips or trays that you have to leave in your mouth for an hour. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes and you're done. To try Power Swabs risk-free, call 1-800-291-5140. That's 1-800-291-5140. I guarantee your bright white smile will have your friends talking about how great you look. Try it risk-free today. 1-800-291-5140. That's 1-800-291-5140.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 800-595-2614 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 595-2614 to take your call now. Call 800-595-2614. That's 800-595-2614. Again, 800-595-2614.
The following letters were written by our troops.
My dear fellow Americans, I truly appreciate your support. I was starting to wonder if people had forgotten about us over here, but then one of my buddies showed me this website, and now as tears are streaming down my face, I can see for sure that you haven't. Private Emily B., U.S. Army.
It's so heartwarming to see the American people not letting the men and women of the armed forces be forgotten. Your letters make a group of grown men, battle-hardened and gruff, act like a bunch of kids around a Christmas tree. Thanks. Staff Sergeant Matthew H., U.S. Army.
Your support may be the most important thing our troops can carry with them. But don't take our word for it. Take theirs. To show your support, visit americasupportsyou.mil. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Defense and the Ad Council.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-616-8010. That's 1-800-616-8010. Again, 1-800-616-8010. Call now.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. We leave no warrior behind. Wounded Warrior Project is a non-profit organization created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war. Whether those scars are physical or mental, we're here to make sure that they heal. And whether it's helping those with post-traumatic stress disorder live a normal life again, or giving much-needed support to injured warriors in veterans' hospitals. Because no one deserves our help more than the men and women who risk their lives to keep us safe. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
And fellow liberty lovers all across the globe. And I know I say across the globe because I know that there are people that are there are Americans that are living, in other parts of the world, and they might be military or civilian, doesn't really matter. As well as I know that there are non-Americans listening to this program all across the globe through the power of radio and the internet. And which is why I have to, because there are people all over the world that would love to have liberty, love to have freedom that we enjoy here in this country that they just don't have. And they might be fighting in their own countries in order to achieve that end. So I always welcome anyone who happens to be a fan of personal liberty and freedom. But in any event, and I feel honored that they would listen to this program. And in some cases, in some places around the globe, they might be risking their, their own personal freedom at the moment by listening to this type of program and listening to me. I hope I am inspiring people all over the globe. Really, that's again, that is my goal, just to inspire people. In any event, you are listening to me as I broadcast live from my bunkerized home studio somewhere within the great granite state of New Hampshire. And New Hampshire is the state with the motto, live free or die. And I would like to keep it that way. So during this leaf peeping season, and the colors are starting to really pop at least in my neck of the woods, when you come and visit, and if you're coming from California or New York or Massachusetts or some other liberal bastion, Illinois, you know what? Come and enjoy, spend your money at our local businesses, have some fun, and then go home without any thought whatsoever that you want to move here. Because just like the old days, and when I say old days, I'm 40, 50, 60 years ago, when people used to go out to the country, and they used to say, oh, isn't the country so beautiful? We love being out in the country. And they moved out there, and then we started calling them, because so many people who love the country moved out into the country, they were called suburbs. They destroyed the country. So don't come here to destroy the state of New Hampshire and our more conservative ways. We'd appreciate it if you just left us alone. Go back to your own liberal states. You've got your liberal and socialist ideas in New York and in California. We can see how well that's working in California, by the way. So especially all you Californians who are coming or who are already here in New Hampshire, and you're trying to move to Maine. And Maine's got some good stuff going on. Let me tell you, their governor, he's not exactly a Tea Party type of conservative, but let me tell you something. Well, I'll get into some of the things that's going on up in the state of Maine that is shaking to their very core the liberals in Maine. Because this guy, he may not. I know he's not probably. And I'm going to say this about the guy. I don't know him personally, but he doesn't appear to be the brightest bulb in the chandelier. But let me tell you, he's bright enough to get done what he said that he was going to try to get done in that state during his campaign promises, and he's done some of it already. And he's shaken the liberals to their core. Because, one, they can't believe he actually was able to accomplish some of the things that he accomplished. And two, what he has accomplished is working so damn well that the people of Maine, some of them who were all about liberals and being in liberalism, are now taking a second look and thinking, oh, this guy might deserve a second term. And that kind of talk in Maine has got the liberals and the Democrats shaking in their boots. I'm telling you. So you have to do things in a state level. Really, you got to do things in a state level. By the way, if you wish to call the program, the number here is toll-free 603-835-3224. I will take your call as soon as I see you on the call-in board. Judicial Watch. JudicialWatch.org has obtained some... Now for you liberals that are listening, I want you to explain to me. Explain to me like I'm Lucy. You guys remember back when Desert Storm or Desert Shield turned into Desert Storm? Remember that? Remember when George Herbert Walker Bush was president? Remember when George Herbert Walker Bush went to play one round of golf? The left was fit to be tied. You going out there and playing golf, and we got our men and women in the armed forces sitting in danger, ready to go to war and having bullets and bombs lobbed on them, and you're out there having fun playing golf. One round of golf. How could you possibly do that, George Herbert Walker Bush? Remember that? I mean, the lamestream media was just all over it. And I know that that the Bush camp really didn't respond to that well, because their response was, well, they don't want to make it seem like that Saddam is changing the president's normal activity. They don't want to give him that much importance. That was kind of lame. I mean, I got what they were saying, but it was kind of lame. But that was just one round of golf. And the left went bazonkers over that. Now, here we are, 14 years in, and we still have thousands of men and women in the military in harm's way in multiple countries fighting terror around the world. And our current president, Barack Hussein Obama, has been on multiple vacations and multiple golf jaunts. And you don't hear a beep from the left about that. And of course, the right, because they're so timid They won't say anything about it either. Well, Judicial Watch has obtained some records about Obama's spendthrift ways. And this is only for 2 months out of this year. February and March of this year. Now, understand, February, in much of the country, especially in the northern half of the country, was engulfed in major global warming to the tune of record lows and record snowfall all over the place. You got the irony there, I hope. Global warming, record cold, lots of snow. Yeah. So February and March, the country is reeling and digging out of multiple snowstorms, Arctic chill all over the place, and the president is enjoying himself at taxpayer expense, I might add. So during February and March of 2015, golf vacations and fundraisers cost the taxpayers nearly $4.5 million in travel expenses alone. Now, if George W. Bush spent $4.5 million on vacations and golf outings in 2 months, during 2 months of the worst winter in recent history, you would have heard the left totally explode. But not a beep from the left or the mainstream media over this. And you've got Bernie Sanders out there talking, well, Americans are tired of hearing about your damn emails. They want to know this and that. And they want the government to spend on them so they can get all kinds of shit for free. Well, Obama's taking that to heart, and he's getting free vacations at the tune of $4.5 million. Oh, wait a minute. That's not really free. We, the taxpayer, are paying for it. Here are the detailia. Those of you in Rush Limbaugh's Realinda, I was being facetious in pronouncing the word detail. And for those of you who are not, who picked up on it, you know what detailia, combining two words there, because, we're getting you-know-what up the you-know-what. You got it. Judicial Watch obtained records from the U.S. Department of the Air Force revealing that Barack Obama's February and March 2015 travel for golf vacations and fundraisers totaled $4,436,245.50. 50 cents was not the rapper. The rap artist, I should say. In taxpayer-funded transportation expenses. The documents regarding the Obama travel expenses came in response to two Freedom of Information Acts requests filed by Judicial Watch. Somebody's got our back, and that's Judicial Watch. Now, using the Air Force's official cost estimate of roughly $206,337 per hour, the newly released records obtained by Judicial Watch show, that's for Air Force One, by the way, and security. Obama's February 14th, February 14th, that was Valentine's Day. How many of you would like to take a $1 million jaunt, take your honey on a $1 million jaunt for Valentine's Day? Oh, yeah, she would love you to death forever. Obama's February 14th, 2015 golf outing to Palm Springs required a 5-hour flight, costing taxpayers $1,031,685. Transportation for Obama's February 19th day trip to Chicago, Cost taxpayers $619,011. Now, wait. There's more. So don't explode yet, because you better save it, because you're going to explode even more. Now, Obama's March 28th, 2015 golf outing to Palm City required a 3.9-hour flight, costing taxpayers a whopping $804,870.30. Got a little discount on 50. And the piece de resistance. Transportation for Obama's March 2015 fundraising trip to Los Angeles, California, cost taxpayers $1,980,835.02. And for those of you in Rush Limbaugh's Realinda, that's 20 cents. So going on a fundraising trip to Los Angeles cost you and me, the taxpayer, nearly $2 million. This guy going on 2 golf trips cost us, the taxpayer, $1.9 million. Okay, now you can explode. And I'm hearing explosions all over the place right now. I can hear them coming from near and far. You start hearing sirens, it's because I know, in the background, it's because I know that there are local people who have exploded and their house is now on fire. Now, I'm not even going to go into detail of where the man went. Now, that's just for transportation cost. That doesn't include the detail, the expense of the detail while he's in these places. That doesn't include all the other stuff that surrounds, a president and costs that go with that when a president travels. Oh, that's just getting there and getting back. That's, because you know what it's like. You see airline tickets. Oh, you can go here for $100 round, $200 round trip. But that's not the cost of the trip. That's just the cost of the transportation to get there and to get back. That's not including your meals, your hotel costs, other costs that are involved, and the whole thing for however long you're there. Before, after you arrive and before you leave, whatever, that's added on to it. So you're looking at nearly $4.5 million just to get there and back. That doesn't include the cost of staying in these places. And sometimes for an extended period of 19-day trip to Chicago. Or, excuse me, his trip to Chicago. Just a day trip to go to Chicago on February 19th. Just to play golf in Palm Springs. Just to play golf in Palm City. And then I go out for a fundraiser and then charge the taxpayer nearly $2 million for the privilege of us sending him out there and back. And yet we didn't hear anything from the left about this. I mean, this man and his wife are living like royalty on our dime. And I got to tell you, I think it's funny because I've seen time and time again over the years in the lamestream media about the British royal family. Is it time to get rid of the British monarchy? They're costing the British people this amount of dollars, pounds. They're costing the British people this amount, and this amount, and annually this, and annually that. And they're nothing but figureheads, and the family's doing this and that, and blah, blah. Is it time to get rid of it? Is it costing the Brits too much to have the monarchy? Is it time to get rid of the monarchy? And yet, when this president acts more like a king and acts in this couple acts more like a king and queen than the Queen of England does, and spends more than the king or Queen of England does. We don't hear anything from the left here. Oh no, and the right for the most part has just been so timid. They don't want because everybody's going to think that we're so racist and everything. We bring this up about Obama because George Bush did this and George H.W. Bush did that. Look, Ronald Reagan, no president going all the way through to Bill Clinton even didn't spend money like water like this guy. And I'm not talking about raising the debt either, because he's done a good job at that. He's not in line with what other presidents have spent. Even if you keep the dollar constant, he is still outspending them. And in a time of economic decline and depression, where you have 95 plus million Americans out of work, when you have almost 50 million people dependent on government for some form of monthly assistance in order to live, and this guy is spending taxpayer dollars like it's nothing. And then you have the lamestream media not saying a damn thing about it. Because if it's George W. Bush doing it, all hell's going to break loose. Speaking of George W. Bush, has anybody... You barely even know the man's alive. You barely even know that George Herbert Walker Bush is alive. Trust me, if either one of them dies, you will hear the lamestream press will just trumpet that. They won't. They'll try to deny it, but they're going to be happy as hell when those two men pass away. And if you don't believe me, look what they did with Ronald Reagan has died. In the background, they're going, yeah, yeah. But when these guys left office, you barely heard from them. We can't get rid of Bill Clinton. Hell, Jimmy Carter's 90 years old, and we still can't get rid of him. These guys on the left, they don't go away. So if you think Obama's going to go away and stop spending taxpayer money after he leaves office, you got another thing coming. He's going to spend the maximum that he's allowed to spend as a retired president. Trust me on that one. Because this guy's been spending money like water, and he's used to living like a king, and he's not going to be able to give that up so easily. And whatever he can charge to the taxpayer after he leaves office, he is definitely going to do. He's going to cost us a mint in his retirement. And the man is like, what, he's going to be like 54 years old when he leaves? He's going to be fairly young. He's going to be like Bill Clinton. He's going to hang around forever. We're going to be paying for him forever. And he won't go away. Just like Bill Clinton and Jimmy Carter. He's not going. A guy with this kind of ego is not going away. And before you say, well, hey, he won't be president anymore, he won't have any power. What? Do you think that Bill Clinton doesn't have any power and influence right now? I mean, I don't want them dead. I mean, I know it's going to happen eventually because none of us are getting out of this life alive. That's 100% accurate. None of us are getting out of this life alive. I hate to break it to you, but them's the breaks. That's just the way it is. But I don't want to see them pass away before their time. But I don't want them draining my pocketbook, and I don't want them hanging around causing all kinds of problems for the current president. I mean, Jimmy Carter even now, Jimmy Carter running around causing havoc for Bush and Obama. Now, as much as I may have disagreed with Obama on a lot of stuff, Jimmy Carter had no right to do half the stuff that he did. Because Obama wasn't sending him out there. I know some people don't believe that, but trust me, the man is too much of an ego. He's not sending another president to do something that he thinks that he should be able to do. It's just, look, we do foot the bill, part of the bill, when these people are flying all over the world, doing stuff in the name of the United States, by the way. You can get a Freedom of Information Act and find the cost of this stuff if you want to, but I'm telling you, Obama he's costing us a mint right now while he's in office. And this guy is probably going to try to cost us a mint for the next 30 or 40 years that he's alive when he's retired and out of office. No, don't doubt me.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-616-8010. That's 1-800-616-8010. Again, 1-800-616-8010. Call now.
Did you ever look at the stains in your coffee cup and then realize that's exactly what happens to your teeth? Power Swabs is the 5-minute solution to get your teeth white without visiting the dentist. This is Ben Gordon with Power Swabs, and if your teeth are stained from coffee, tea, or smoking, all it takes is 5 minutes with Power Swabs. In 5 minutes, you'll see an average of 2 shades whiter teeth, and in 7 days, 6 shades. It's clinically proven to whiten natural teeth as well as caps and veneers. The secret is a tooth detergent that was developed by Dr. Martin Ginniger that lifts stains off of your teeth. Best of all, there's no messy strips or trays that you have to leave in your mouth for an hour. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes and you're done. To try Power Swabs risk-free, call 1-800-291-5140. That's 1-800-291-5140. I guarantee your bright white smile will have your friends talking about how great you look. Try it risk-free today. 1-800-291-5140. That's 1-800-291-5140.
Did you know that 1 in 4 people in America lives with a mental illness? Do you have the communication skills to help out if one is in a crisis? What if it's your best friend? Maybe your son or daughter? Well, crisis intervention isn't new. The book Crisis Intervention 101 is. It's easy to read, include links to 2 videos, and it's under $10. Get your copy of Crisis Intervention 101 today on Amazon.com, because we all need help in a crisis.
Start training for a new career in as little as 18 days. National EMS Institute's innovative boot camp program will train you for a new career. Learn to respond to emergency situations and become a certified EMT in just 18 days. National EMS Institute guarantees 100% job placement. Visit www.nationaleMSinstitute.com today to learn more about our 18-day boot camp. Or call us at 1-800-497-6732. NationalEMSinstitute.com.
Stuck in a boring, low-paid job? By 2017, there will be a shortage of 2 million cybersecurity jobs worldwide. If you have a technical background but don't have a computer certification, you're being drastically underpaid. In months, you could be qualified for a new job in information technology, making real money with real job security. A new career is just a few clicks away at thecodeoflearning.com.
You're listening to The Rod Eccles Show.
place, flying all over the country, flying all over the globe, playing golf and raising money for his Democratic cohorts. The federal debt held by the public has doubled. Yeah, it doubled. And this is from CNSnews.com. 107% rise. Federal debt held by public has more than doubled under Obama, up $57,400 per household. The portion of the federal government's debt that is held by the public, as opposed to the portion that is borrowed out of government trust funds, such as Social Security and Medicare trust funds, has more than doubled during President Obama's time in office. Less than 7 years so far. Now, since Obama's inauguration, the Treasury has increased the federal government's debt held by the public by some $6.7 trillion, or about $57,400 for each household in the United States. Now, when Obama took office on January 20th, 2009, the total debt of the federal government was just a tad over $10.6 trillion. But the Treasury divides this total of debt into two main components: debt held by the public and intragovernmental debt. Now, debt held by the public represents federal debt issued by Treasury and held by investors outside of the federal government, including individuals, corporations, state or local governments, Federal Reserve, foreign governments, blah, blah, blah. The majority of debt held by the public consists of a marketable Treasury securities such as bills, notes, bonds, floating note rates, and Treasury inflation-protected securities that are sold through auctions and can be resold by whoever owns them, which, hedge fund owners. Hedge fund people, they're just evil. Well, hedge fund people are buying our debt. That are sold through auctions and can be resold by whomever owns them. Treasury also issues smaller amounts of non-marketable securities such as savings securities and state and local government series securities, blah, blah, blah. Intergovernmental debt holdings represent federal debt owned by Treasury to federal government accounts, primarily federal trust funds such as Social Security and Medicare, that typically have an obligation to invest in federal securities their excess annual receipts, including interest earnings, over disbursements. So, by the way, did you know that our government has an obligation to empty the Social Security Trust Fund every year? Did you know that? Did you know that the obligation? If it's an obligation, that must mean it's a law. Did you know that it's the federal government's obligation to put IOUs into the Social Security and Medicare Trust Fund? Did you know that? I didn't know that. That's the first I've ever heard that. Folks, let me explain that to you a little bit. An obligation means that somehow, somewhere in the code, in the law, it is written that the money just can't sit there. And we have all these people talking about, well, if we never touched Social Security Trust Fund, the money would be there. Well, evidently, it was never intended to be left there because they have an obligation not to leave it there. An obligation means it's probably the law. So this whole I have told you people over and over, and I said it before, I'll say it 1,000 times again. Don't doubt me. This is all about just sucking you dry. It's not about taking care of you. It's about government elitists being able to do whatever the hell they want, living however the hell they want, on whosever dime they want, without taking anything out of their own damn pockets. And as I've said time and time again, notice how the government always says that you and I have to do with less. So they're going to have to raise taxes, taking more money out of our pocket. Whether or not we get a raise to try to offset that is irrelevant to them. Because the government needs money. The government can't do with less, so you're going to have to do with less. Okay, is what the American people usually say. And then we run around wondering, well, why isn't there any money in the Social Security Trust Fund? Why isn't there any money here? Why isn't there any money there? Because they're under no obligation to keep it. In fact, as this report shows, they're obligated not to leave the money there. So this whole notion that we need to fix Social Security by filling up the trust fund again and leaving it alone, that's a lie. They're obligated not to leave money in there. They're obligated to take IOUs. An obligation, really, in legal terms, means it's the law. And in order for it to be the law, somebody had to know what they were doing when they wrote it and then pushed to get it passed. So you can't tell, well, our government really didn't know. It's kind of like Obamacare. Nobody really knew that was going to happen. Oh, bullshit. Like Nancy Pelosi, oh, we have to pass the law in order to find out what's in it. Oh, bullshit. She knew exactly what was in it. She knew exactly what it was going to mean. Point is if she told you that even those who were in support of it, many of them would have said, oh, hell no, we ain't doing that. That's why they didn't tell you a damn thing. Now, unlike debt held by the public, intergovernmental, this is the General Accounting Office, GAO, says this, intergovernmental debt holdings are not shown as balances on the federal government's consolidated financial statements because they represent loans from one part of the federal government to the other. When Obama took office in January of 2009, $4,300,000 was intragovernmental debt. $6.3 trillion was debt held by the public. Now, again, the public means you and me when we buy, bonds and things like that, and corporations loan the government money. They take securities, and foreign governments buy our debt. They buy bonds and securities and things like that from the Treasury and the Fed, and that's how they finance our debt. That's who our government owes. Now, the misnomer is that the intergovernmental debt is also BS. That's also, in order, I know that they're saying, well, that's not public debt. No, that's also BS because the government is we the people. The government doesn't have any money until it taxes we the people. So we own all of that debt because at some point it's got to be paid back because it's got to get paid out. Look, what's in $110 trillion in unfunded liability? You know what that means? That means over the next 100 years or so, not even, this country has got to pay over $100 trillion to people because of Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, Obamacare now added in there. We don't have the money. And then you start tossing on debt, other debt. That's not even including, that's just the promises as we currently are that have to be paid in the future, the near future. As in next year through the year 2050 or whatever. It's going to have to be paid on top of the debt. I know some people are thinking, oh my God, we just might as well just call it bankrupt and let the whole country just go to hell and just split up and just, I don't know, we should do like that movie with Chris Christopherson, America with a K. Oh my God, we're just so screwed. No, not necessarily. Just calm down. Calm down, because I haven't told you to panic yet. So if I haven't told you to panic, then it's not time to panic. We still got a chance to turn this thing around, by the way. We really do. I want you to dream with me for a second. Imagine a government that lives within its means. Imagine a government that shrinks itself back to its constitutional duties. Imagine a government that pays off the debt so it's not paying all this interest anymore. Imagine a government that is fiscally responsible. Can you imagine how low the tax rate would be in this country? Can you imagine all that you would get to spend or invest your money on or in? Can you imagine being able to send your kids to all but maybe the most elite schools and colleges in the country and being able to pay for them easily every time the tuition bill came? Because you were earning so much money and you got to keep nearly all of it for yourself instead of spitting it out in the form of taxes and fees and licenses and everything else to your local, state, and federal government. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine going back to 1815 when we didn't have all these different taxes, when people were able to keep their own money? Oh, yeah. Can you imagine in 2020, our financial situation reverts back to like 1815? You want to be able to buy a Mercedes? Pay it off in 2 or 3 years instead of financing it over 6 or 7? Oh, you take our government back to 1815. You would be able to do that because we would have an economic boon. We wouldn't be worried about illegal immigrants. Why? Because we'd have a closed border, for one. And we would need to invite in people who would be willing and can be able to contribute to our society because we would have unemployment at 1%. With no inflation. Can you imagine that? Well, let me bring you some reality. You're not going to get to that imaginary state and make it real with Democrats and rhinos. It's not going to happen. Never will. Not in a million freaking years. Don't doubt me. Last thing that rhinos and liberals want is for you to realize that and that you can take care of yourself without them. They don't want that. And speaking of that, hey, they're kind of starting to feel that kind of vibe up here in northern New England in the state of Maine. This is from youngcons.com. Welfare reform in Maine. And I know this is work because I live so damn close to Maine. Well, I'm close to it. It's right next door. Welfare reform is working in Maine despite liberal outrage. Oh, really? Can you possibly imagine? Oh, Muffy, I know we're liberal and that we think we should take care of everybody, Muffy, but they're doing so well taking care of themselves up there in Maine, Muffy. What are we going to do? In 2010, Republican Paul LePage was elected as governor of the once liberal state of Maine. Since then, he's gone on a rampage fighting against Democrats to reform the state's welfare system and incentivize people to work rather than trying to make not working more comfortable. Yeah, that's a crazy idea. That's just a stupid idea. I know, we've been told over that's just you just hate poor people. You hate poor. You want to put poor people to work, Rod? You hate poor people. Yeah, it's definitely a crazy idea. Well, liberals definitely think it's a crazy idea. All the and the story continues. All the left-wing smear merchants like Salon, The Atlantic, MSNBC, Mess have attacked LePage with false accusations of racism, especially when he implemented drug testing as part of the welfare. Now, I don't know where he's getting where they would possibly get. Maine's a very white state, by the way. And 90% of the people on welfare in the state of Maine were white. And Governor LePage's welfare process, if you will, was equally applied to everyone, not just minority individuals. So I don't know where they got the point of, he's discriminating against 10% of the people. So, but he's applying the rules equally to everybody, including the vast majority of whites. Well, yeah, but. Well, there's no but. No racism. LePage has forged ahead in enacted legislation preventing people who have a certain net worth from receiving welfare, along with other measures aimed at only providing assistance to those who desperately need it, which was what it was intended for in the first place. Oh, my God. You mean if you have a net worth that is a certain amount, that you actually have to go and spend your net worth? Isn't that what it's for? And if you don't want to spend the net worth, what are you going to do? Get a job. Yeah. Imagine that. Now, guess what happened when LePage stuck to his guns? And the guy's not considered an ultra-conservative. But guess what happened when he stuck to his guns and he got all this passed? Yeah, it worked. Governor LePage has been on a crusade to reform the state welfare program and reduce resident dependence on government assistance. New numbers indicate that these reforms have been working. You can hear them grumbling already. Damn numbers. It works. It works. How can it possibly work? We don't. But everything we've done hasn't worked. How can they possibly get something to work? We don't want to work. We don't want it to work. Now, the Maine Department of Health and Human Services have said that tougher requirements for welfare, along with a drop in unemployment, had led to more Mainers supporting themselves. Oh, my goodness. That's just... the people of Maine are supporting themselves. That's just terrible in liberals' book. Oh, my God. Oh, they're supporting themselves up there in Maine, Martha. We got to stop that nonsense. The number of the state's citizens on the food stamp program has plunged below 200,000, which, according to the governor, is the lowest number of people on taxpayer-funded welfare food stamps in 6 years. Now, this comes on the heel of a push to remove Mainers without dependents from the welfare rolls if they have more than $5,000, including bank accounts balances, snowmobiles, boats, Wait a minute. You could have been on Maine's welfare assistance programs if you had $5,000 in the bank, if you had snowmobiles, boats, motorcycles, jet skis, all-terrain vehicles, recreational vehicles, campers, and other valuable assets that you could have turned into cash or started businesses with or used for other income-generating purposes. But you could have still gotten on public assistance and taken from the taxpayer, and LePage wanted to stop it? Oh, he is such an evil person. I know, it's so terrible. He's got devil horns coming out, everything. Now, on Facebook, the governor also, LePage has insisted that this is a key test to ensure that welfare is a last resort, not a way of life. Now, also under LePage's governorship, Maine's unemployment rate has dropped from a high of 8.3% in 2009 to 4.5% back in August of this year, falling a full percentage point since December of 2014 alone, just after LePage was reelected. They reelected him. That's the problem that the liberals have. Not only did his policies work and work well and bring down the unemployment rate, which means more Mainers are successfully supporting themselves than in the last 6 years, but it got him reelected. A Republican is in the governor's office of Maine, and they are beside themselves about that. They are grumbling big time. How could they possibly do that? No. Now, I'm telling you, we can do the same thing in all 50 states. We don't need the federal government to do this. We can do this individually in all 50 states. Can you imagine if the number of people who really do not need public assistance are booted off and forced to be contributing members to society. Wait a minute. All those Mainers have jobs now, and instead of taking money out of the system, they're paying taxes into the system, which means Maine has more tax money. Now, liberals should be happy about that because now they can spend more of it. Oh, but yeah, see, everything they want to spend it on is welfare programs. And now they don't need to spend it because nobody's on welfare. Oh, well, we couldn't spend it on things like we need, like, border patrols and military, National Guard. You couldn't spend it on the police and fire and first responders. No. That's not a liberal's first choice. That's not a liberal's last choice to spend money on. Oh, no. They got to spend it. Their first choice, their only choice, is socialistic type of stuff. That's what they want to spend it on. But there's no need to spend it in Maine on that stuff because nobody needs it. And thus, nobody needs them. Also, looking at from the Washington Examiner, schools are like businesses when it comes to harmful regulations. And you can't make this stuff up, folks. More than 1,000 students might be out of school next week, and an unlikely culprit may be responsible. A school district, Obamacare. Clay County Schools in northern Tennessee is struggling financially and has decided to close the district's 3 schools indefinitely. Administrators are blaming the high cost of Obamacare for hurting the district financially. The Affordable Care Act, being a totally unfunded mandate, is devastating the finances of the Clay County school system. We are also in a county that just doesn't generate a lot of tax revenue. We'll see. You see, Mr. County School Director by the name of Jerry Strong. See, your problem is you're not taxing enough. That's what they would tell you. They would tell you, Mr. Director Strong, you're just not taxing the people enough to make the money in order to run your school system. Well, and Mr. Strong would probably have to respond, well, it's because these people can't afford higher taxes. How's that? Oh, they can afford it. They'll pay it. You charge it, they'll pay it. That's all the government cares about. Even if you can't afford it, you're still going to afford it because you're going to pay them first. Because if you don't pay it, they're going to take your stuff and throw you in jail. So you don't have it's extortion, really. When you come to think about it, the way our tax system is now designed, it's extortion. It really, really is. Do I have enough time to go into this story? Well, I'm just going to bring you alternative lifestyles. Hey, folks, this is what's happening up in Canada, soon to come down here. A gay married couple who got divorced just after a year into their marriage, their gay marriage. They got divorced to include a third person in their relationship because, 3 people in Canada can't get married. So that's going to... They got married so they could have a triumvirate, I guess. A relationship between 3 guys. And so it was 2 guys that legally got married in Canada. Canada does not allow 3 people to get married. So they got divorced so they can include this third guy to come in. So now you got 3 guys that are so in love with each other, living together, and they're wondering why all 3 of them can't get married. Look, that kind of crap is coming here. And they, by the way, they want to have kids, by the way, in this thing. Can you imagine that nonsense? Oh my God. Well, anyway, folks, it looks like I'm up against the We'll get to some stuff I missed tonight, tomorrow on the Small Show. Free for all Friday or Friday Follies, whatever it is. Until then, I'm Rod Eccles. Been the Rod Eccles Show.